Yeah. That wasn't very nice.
The episode opens up in the Braxter building. Per usual, Reed Richards, the leader of the group, is working on his cosmic rays experiment. This time, however, his focus is on studying the effects of cosmic rays on a head of broccoli. To his surprise, once the cosmic rays hit the broccoli, it causes the vegetable to grow at an abnormal rate. Reed notes that the rays have managed to alter the broccoli's genetic structure. Hearing this, both Ben and Johnny begin complaining about Reed's experiments, claiming that they don't want to put up with it any longer. Johnny's sister, Susan, who is also part of the Fantastic Four team, tells the two of them to stop treating Reed like a mad scientist. She then turns to Reed and asks him if it is safe for them to come out. He assures her that it is safe and tells Johnny that the cosmic rays he has created are similar to the cosmic radiation that gave them their powers. Despite his assurances, his team feels a little reluctant to step out into the lab. Susan notices his broccoli continuing to grow. The broccoli bursts into tiny pieces, and a bright light appears in front of the Fantastic Four. Reed begins to freak out and orders an emergency shutdown, but before they can shut it down, the cosmic rays burst through the lab, knocking everyone down and disappearing. Susan and Johnny are the first ones to wake up. Much to her surprise, Susan notices that her brother has become invisible. As she is freaking out, she bursts into fire and begins screaming. On the other hand, Ben wakes up to find he is human again. Only this time, he has turned flexible like Reed. Meanwhile, Reed discovers that he has turned into stone like Ben and realizes that the cosmic rays have switched their powers. Susan struggles to control her newfound powers as she lights everything up on fire. At the same time, Johnny feels envious of the fact that his sister now has access to cooler powers than his. Before he can finish complaining, he manages to make the entire Baxter building disappear and realizes that his powers are much cooler than he had anticipated. Despite struggling with Ben's powers, Reed quickly adapts to his new body and tells the Fantastic Four that they need to be out in the streets because people could be in trouble due to the high energy levels they have produced. Ben apologizes to Reed by telling him that he did not want to cause so many problems since Reed had only been experimenting to help him. However, Reed assures him that it is not a big deal and that their priority is to investigate the energy disturbance since it could happen again. When he notices Susan and Johnny's grim mood, he assures them that he will work on switching their powers back once they are done. Sometime later, the Fantastic Four find themselves trying to adjust to their new reality. Johnny, who had forgotten what hot food felt like, takes a bite of his pizza and immediately spits it out. Susan quickly reminds him that the pizza does not taste weird, it is just hot. Just then, Ben, who had been struggling to dress himself in his human body again, walks in wearing clothes that are twice his size. Meanwhile, Reed struggles with his new body, accidentally breaking everything around him. Despite this, he is the first one to break the fun as he tells his friends that he has detected another energy spike further into the city, claiming that not only is the energy spike responsible for the cosmic experiment to overload, but it could also be crucial to putting Johnny and Susan back together. Desperate to get their own powers back, the Fantastic Four head towards the city center, where they had detected the energy spike. Elsewhere, in the Castle of Doom, Lucia von Bardas kneels before Dr. Doom as he walks out of a portal. She informs him that the Fantastic Four have finally left the Baxter building since they are occupied with the energy spike he had sent. Pleased with himself, Dr. Doom tells her that the Fantastic Four won't know what hit them. He then orders Lucia to send Doombots after them. In the meantime, the Fantastic Four arrive in the city where chaos has ensued. The energy sphere fires streaks of lightning, destroying anything that it hits. Reed, who was flying the Fantasticar, tries to move the lever around but ends up breaking it. Frustrated, he tells Ben and Susan that their main job is to take care of the civilians, while he and Johnny will try to contain the energy sphere. Without waiting to hear the rest of the command, Johnny opens the Fantasticar hatch and jumps out, forgetting that he can no longer fly since he switched powers with Susan. As he plummets towards the ground, he tries to activate his force field, but is unable to. Just before he can hit the ground, he somehow manages to activate the force field and saves himself from breaking any bones. At the same time, the energy sphere continues to cause destruction, and people run for shelter. Reed flies the Fantasticar close to the sphere and tells his team that they have to contain the energy using a force field. Susan confidently assures her team that she has it handled until she, too, realizes that she now controls fire. She creates a ring of fire below the sphere, but ends up making things worse as the sphere shoots out lightning strikes that go through the ring of fire and light everything up on fire. Reed and Ben leave Susan behind to try and figure out her powers while they head towards an old woman who is about to be run over by a bus. Ben steps forward to try and stop the bus, but ends up getting flattened thanks to his now very flexible body. At the last moment, Reed manages to save the old woman. Not long after that, Susan and Johnny land next to Ben and begin bickering. Ben notes that it is almost like the siblings switched their personalities. When Reed joins them, he reveals that he had noticed that as well. This time, he comes up with a new plan, keeping in mind the new abilities his team had developed. He tells Johnny that he needs to create a force field to contain the energy, while Susan will pour as much fire as she can into the sphere and force it to overload. However, just as Susan gets close to the sphere, it disappears. Surprised, Susan's flame goes out, and she plummets towards the ground as well, but her brother manages to save her. Ben asks Reed if he got any readings from the energy sphere, but he claims that it has been extremely hard for him to focus. Ben confesses that it is always like that for him and takes the device from Reed's hands so that he can understand the readings on the device. He takes a look at the readings and tells the Fantastic Four that the energy sphere is utilizing the same interdimensional energy as the gauntlet. Reed tries to focus on what Ben is telling him, claiming that if the properties of the power gauntlet are inverted, it can latch onto something in another dimension, meaning the energy sphere could bring something powerful to Earth. When Susan asks him what can be brought to Earth, Reed contacts Herbie and asks him if there was any measurable difference in the two spheres. Herbie immediately responds and tells him that the second energy sphere was 41% larger than the first, and the frequency of the energy pulses quadrupled. Once the Fantastic Four realize that Dr. Doom tricked them, Reed claims that it is time to take him down. Unbeknownst to them, one of the Doombots was watching them and recording everything for Dr. Doom to watch. Dr. Doom tells Lucia that the Fantastic Four have managed to find their way out of his trap, but Reed is still clueless about the power he seeks. He claims that something is off about the superheroes. When Lucia asks him if he would like to destroy them, Dr. Doom gives her his approval. Meanwhile, the Fantastic Four reach the energy sphere only to find it growing in size. Reed tells his team that whatever Dr. Doom is pulling from the outer dimension, it is close. Susan, ever the optimistic one, assures her team that it cannot get worse than this, unaware that the Doombots have caught up with them. At the same time, Reed tells his team that they can hit two birds with one stone. He explains that the energy emitted from the sphere is similar to the cosmic rays that gave them their powers. If they can siphon some of the energy, they can recharge the generator that he used to conduct his experiment and switch Johnny and Susan back. When Susan asks him what the dangerous part about his plan is, Reed reveals that they will have to pull off their plan inside the sphere and shut it down at the same time. Just as Johnny begins to second-guess the plan, one of the Doombots attacks Reed, leaving them with no time to question the plan. Since Dr. Doom had programmed specific bots to target each of the superheroes, the Fantastic Four are able to take them by surprise since their powers had been switched. Once they take most of the bots down, Reed tells Johnny to create a force field that will allow them to get inside the sphere. Once he manages to do it, Reed tells Susan and Johnny to get inside. Ben realizes that Reed is not planning on switching back and confronts him about it. To his surprise, Reed tells him that he deserves to be human for once. With this, Ben stays behind as Reed, Susan, and Johnny enter the sphere. On the other hand, Dr. Doom rejoices over the fact that he is about to get his hands on the greatest power that there is. However, before anything can happen, Lucia interrupts him and tells him that they have a problem. At that moment, the three superheroes find themselves in the sphere where Johnny struggles to hold the force field. While they are distracted, a Doombot enters the sphere after them and attacks. Before it can attack Johnny, Ben surprises all of them by entering the sphere and killing it. Despite knowing that he won't remain human, Ben forces Reed to go ahead with the plan. Reed siphons the energy and manages to return everyone back to normal. Once Dr. Doom realizes that his plan has failed yet again, he swears that it is not over. Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos and make sure to subscribe and tap the bell to be notified about our latest videos. See you next time.